So, the Knights of the Old Republic remake. Perhaps you heard about it. Previously, I had made a video talking about whether the remake was going to either stay within the Legends continuity or have the story altered to fit the new Disney canon. To everybody's annoyance, it's been over a month since the teaser trailer, and there was never a firm definitive answer stating one way or the other. This has led to confusion that can otherwise be solved by Lucasfilm Games or Aspire Media simply making a statement. In my video, I gave some reasons about why I think the remake is going to be part of Legends, and I still believe that's going to be the case. But EU fans are still very skeptical, and rightfully so. Pablo Hidalgo and Matt Martin seem to suggest that the remake would fall under Legends, but there are arguments on both sides. The lack of clarity has even led to some mainstream news articles believing the remake will be part of canon, or they, at the very least, entertain the idea that it might be. Meaning this isn't just a question in the EU community. Fans of Disney canon are doubtless wondering if this massive game announcement will fit into their continuity or not. One of these articles I wanted to go over today, titled Star Wars High Republic Complicates KOTOR's Canon Timeline. It's written by David Miller on ScreenRant.com, and the article's tagline states, "The upcoming Knights of the Old Republic remake would be difficult to add to the canon timeline, thanks to the High Republic multimedia project." One of the weaker arguments I made in my last KOTOR remake video was that the KOTOR remake couldn't fit into the new canon without changing a lot. Otherwise, it would go against the promise the lead producer of Aspire Media, Ryan Treadwell, made when he said that the remake would maintain the integrity of the story and the characters. If the final product turns out to be massively different, I think it would be completely reasonable to hold Ryan Treadwell accountable. However, I don't follow the new canon, so I just heard that a true KOTOR adaptation would contradict the High Republic. David Miller, who does have knowledge about the High Republic, pinpoints the inconsistencies between it and KOTOR coexisting in the same universe. If this article came out when I made my first video, I would definitely include it to refer to the arguments I made about the remake being strictly EU. But let's jump into the article, specifically to the part where David talks about the continuity hiccups. The High Republic books and comics, which take place only a few centuries before the events of the Skywalker saga, show the galaxy in a developing state that, along with the rest of the canon lore, would present problems for a faithful KOTOR adaptation for the canon timeline. The galaxy's Outer Rim territories were still being mapped and explored, which would mean that many of the original game's key planets, such as Tatooine, Korriban, called Moraban in canon, Terrace, and Dantooine, may need to be changed. Red lightsaber crystals couldn't be synthesized or found in nature as they are in Legends, and would need to be bled, corrupted with the dark side, to be usable in a canon game. The new canon at this point has diverged so far from the original expanded universe that hyperspace mapping in the EU was already plotted out pretty well 4,000 years before the movies. The High Republic is a little over 200 years before the movies, and apparently they still don't have their shit together yet, which I'm fine with, by the way. The more differences that exist between the two timelines mean fans get more of a variety between these two creative worlds, and it justifies the existence of both. The more I see Star Wars authors these days try to borrow from the EU, just makes me wonder why they even bothered with the new canon if they're not going to do anything new with it. This is also why I'm okay with lightsaber crystals working completely different than they did in the EU. You have full creative freedom to build your Star Wars universe. Use it and stop piggybacking off the EU. By the way, if the KOTOR remake changes anything regarding the hyperspace mapping, or changes the planets from the original game, or makes lightsaber crystals operate like they do in the new canon, then that will not maintain the integrity of the story. At that point, KOTOR becomes almost completely unrecognizable to the original game. Speaking of which, David continues, "Considering that the High Republic era began in 300 BBY, and the original KOTOR game took place in 3956 BBY, a hypothetical canon version could solve the Outer Rim issue by moving the Knights of the Old Republic further up the Star Wars timeline and into the High Republic era. But this presents a different problem. The Sith are the main antagonists of KOTOR, but the High Republic era takes place after the Sith Order's seeming defeat. The canon timeline has a much less consistent continuity than Legends, but fitting a new version of KOTOR into it might prove too difficult without massive changes." Yeah, so if we're at the point where we're talking about the alteration of dates KOTOR takes place by thousands of years, or changing the villains from the Sith into something else, then we're far past talking about the integrity of the story. We're talking about a whole different game, with a whole new storyline now. Let's say Aspyr does go this route, and this is exactly what they do with the remake. Literally everyone will question why they're even calling it Knights of the Old Republic anymore. This would completely solidify the point to me that the new canon cannot exist without relying on the EU like life support, and that's not fair to EU fans or new canon fans. David concludes by saying, "In all likelihood, the KOTOR remake will honor the Legends version and stay as faithful to the original as possible. KOTOR makes numerous references to Legends lore, through mentions of Nomi Sunrider and Ood Banar. Canon lore, especially the High Republic material, makes it almost impossible to fit Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake into the current Star Wars timeline, so the game will likely simply serve as a loving homage to the classic Legends continuity, and one of the Star Wars franchise's most popular video games instead." Yeah, I have to agree with David here. Occam's razor tells us that the simplest explanation is usually the best one, and I think the KOTOR remake is just that. A remake of the original game is more likely to happen than trying to forcibly fit a square peg into a round hole. David and I both agree that this game will, in all likelihood, remain part of the expanded universe as it should, and hopefully it honors the original. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think all we can really do now is just wait for official confirmation on this game's canon status. That's the only way we can really know for sure. Anyway, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below.